This is my first video essay, and I really just made it for fun. And this is an exploration of Cartman's homosexuality. Some of it might sound silly, but this show is silly. Chapter 1. How are homosexual characters represented in the show? The first homosexual character in the show was Big Gay Al in Season 1. How was he represented? Very stereotypically, flamboyant, whimsical, and feminine. To often show that a character is homosexual, especially in a satirical manner, is when a character tends to exhibit these traits. To show other characters as examples, Mr. Slave and, fine, Mr. Garrison. Another example of a character exhibiting these traits to show homosexuality is in Season 11, Episode 2, where the setting is a conversion camp, and a man who had quote-unquote recovered from his homosexuality legitimately came skipping and twirling in to emphasize the fact that he had not quote-unquote recovered. You may say, well, what about Tweek and Craig? They're gay and they aren't those things. To which I say it's because their relationship is real. While silly since they are kids, but it is real and they are very reoccurring characters. It isn't necessarily a satirical thing, nor is it a gag to show that the person gay, but they deny it. The reason I mention this, well, Cartman exhibits these traits often. Yes, they are satirical, but they are traits that typically are only shown in the gay characters in the show. Such as when he does drag or cross-dressing. Or, hell, does even quote-unquote fruity things. Eye-fluttering, gossiping like a teen girl, bodily mannerisms that are just considered more traditionally feminine. For example, the time he dressed as Britney Spears and made out with a Justin Timberlake cutout. Season 8, Episode 5.
Wow, kid, you're a little faggot.
Lame.
The way of showing that a character's gay in an unserious way is through these stereotypes. And if he's exhibiting these stereotypes, then they could, in turn, be hinting at that he is gay, or at least, again, bisexual. Chapter 2. Cupid Me. Cupid Me is Cartman's alter ego / hallucinations as literal entity / Cartman forgot to take his meds. But essentially, it is a small, gay Cupid version of him. Amazing! Cupid Me is obsessed with love and other people's relationships. About as much as Cartman is, but honestly possibly less. But most importantly, Cupid Me is gay and homosexually attracted to Cartman, to which makes Cartman get defensive of his identity as heterosexual. Quick recap, episode Tweek x Craig. Cartman wants to get Tweek and Craig together, and Cupid Me is more into getting him and Cartman together. In the end, Cupid Me got what he wanted, and well, so did Cartman. But what exactly is Cupid Me? I don't know, but he's more of a hallucination in the first 2 episodes he's appearing in. But another way of seeing it is that he's a part of Cartman. A part of Cartman that he doesn't associate with his own identity. So it takes shape as its own identity, Cupid Me. The main difference between Cartman and Cupid Me is that Cupid Me is, well, gay. Cupid Me even goes to a gay bar to try to make Cartman jealous. Cupid Me accepts that he's gay, Cartman does not.
Told you I'm not homosexual. I'm not attracted to guys. I'm just not homosexual. I'm not homosexual!
Cupid Me is like a projection of his inner homosexuality that he cannot accept, that he feels isn't his. There is actually a parallel to Mr. Hat and Cupid Me. Much like Mr. Hat to Mr. Garrison, he's a projection of his homosexuality onto something else, as Cartman and Mr. Garrison was / are in denial. Side note, in Cartman Finds Love, Season 16, Episode 7, Cartman gets upset because he felt as if Cupid Me failed him at creating love, so he beats him up, shoves him in a box in the closet, so he no longer has to think of the failed love. This isn't the only time in the show that they've made closet jokes, Season 9, Episode 12, so it isn't completely odd for this to imply a hidden joke. This implies Cartman has no love, so he relies on others' love as a form of adoration. But there is a sort of symbolistic way to interpret this as well. If we think about Cupid Me as that projected part of himself, Cartman beating it up, shoving it in a box, and then his closet, it can be like him harming that part of himself, shoving himself in a box that reflects what society wants and putting himself in the closet. Chapter 3. Kyle. Yes, Kyle. I'm not letting this slip by. It's very obvious whether it's just supposed to be for laughs. Cartman likes Kyle. You don't have to like Cartman to see it to be true, but it's obvious that Cartman has a crush on Kyle. People make Cartman and Kyle out to be, oh wow, a Nazi and his Jewish enemy. And honestly, it's tiring. It comes from a space thinking that Cartman is just purely evil. While yes, he can do some pretty evil things, but he's not a villain. Cartman's anti-Semitism is obviously there, but he mainly uses it on Kyle because he knows it works to get Kyle's attention every time. I know, crazy take, jump me. But Cartman is desperate for Kyle's attention, repeatedly going out of his way to get that attention. He tries to annoy Kyle as a way to, and it works because Kyle is so short-tempered, and Cartman knows that. But also, he genuinely does care about Kyle. Hell, even an affection for him. When Kyle was about to die, he saved him, and even would go on about how he's stronger than this, because he does view Kyle as strong and smart. He admires him, and saying that he doesn't would be a lie. But no, in that scene, he didn't really care if Kyle died, he just wanted his balls sucked, and to that I say no. That's not all he cared about. He cried. Cartman isn't this heartless monster. Yes, he can be a monster, we know that.
Nya, 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 nya. I made you eat your parents. Nya, 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 nya.
But he loves his friends. He really does. Hell, he gave up his entire plan to keep the pandemic going in the pandemic special, just for his friend Stan, because of how vulnerable he was being. He cares about Kyle just as much, arguably more. And Cartman finds love. He tells everyone he was gay for Kyle, and they were dating. Thing is, he could have just as easily said something like Kyle likes someone else, or even just said Kyle doesn't like dating, or was just gay on his own. But no, he said Kyle was his boyfriend. But it's to make it more believable. He's just a kid, he's being stupid. To that I say, yes, he is a stupid kid, but that wouldn't make it any more believable. That was just extra. He didn't have to sing a love song in front of everyone either. He could have just stopped it at the speech. He wanted an excuse to act like this with Kyle. He might also be thinking, yes, but it's to embarrass Kyle. True that he loves doing this, but he's embarrassing himself much more than he is Kyle. But he's just shipping Nicole and Tolkien. True that he was also doing that. But did he need all the extra? No. We could really deep dive in another video, but this isn't a Cartman exclusive, now is it? In short summary, Cartman is the stereotype of, he bullies you because he likes you. Chapter 4, Rejection. Why do people reject the idea that he's homosexual, or at least bi? People really only are comfortable with seeing a gay character that appeals to specific standards. Twinkish, typically protagonist, not saying that people don't love themselves a little bit of a gay villain apparently, but typically people only think it's acceptable for a character to be queer if they are non-problematic. And well, Cartman is the offensive character. He's racist, sexist, anti-Semitic, and legitimately just has some crazy ideas of just about everything. But just because someone is bigoted doesn't mean they can't be queer. Another reason why I see it so often is because the ideal look on gay ships is, oh, I want a twink ex-alpha, or, oh, a cutesy little femboy and a supery-dupery masculine husband. Thing is, sure, Cartman can be feminine if he wants to, but he doesn't fit into the twink idealized yaoi base, to which he can't fit in because he's fat. He doesn't fit this idea of stereotypically cutesy gay couples. As Fannin did to Creek, some people might make Tweek a shy little femboy and Craig some fucking alpha Chad type thing. But gay ships with Cartman? They can't fit in that little submissive femboy twink and masculine alpha male. He's not an overly masculine dude or a cutesy femboy twink. He's some overweight edgy kid. These stereotypes are founded in homophobic nature, still attempting to see these gay characters as more of a heterosexual dynamic rather than just two boys or two girls. People are repulsed by the idea of a fat, problematic kid being queer because they can't, ironically enough, stereotype it or romanticize perfection and representation. That's why people can't get behind it. Most media that has queer representation doesn't want to represent queer individuals in any other way than in positive ways, as to not offend, and or they make it very explicitly not obvious as to not offend the other homophobic half of the audience. People are full of stereotypes, whether they realize it or not. Even the most accepting individuals have trouble seeing a character as queer just purely due to these stereotypes. A lot of people tend to only see a character as queer if they are a perfect representation or fit into stereotypical traits. If they see a racist fat boy as gay, then it goes against how most media represents queer characters, and therefore, they don't act like the idealized queer rep, they aren't deemed queer. If people could have an ounce of media literacy, I feel like they could likely see that Cartman's just objectively queer. Well, to wrap this video up, Cartman is at least bisexual, and more people need to acknowledge it. Anyways, thanks for watching. Cheers to the next season in September.